If I had to title my autobiography, I think the name would be I Disagree. The story of Marcus Arsenal. I disagree. Everybody has their opinion and their worldview, so do I. And I disagree with damn near everybody. Well, at least especially in American culture. We think we can keep purchasing all kinds of crap. This is the way to our happiness. We think that if people just adore us and smile and laugh in our face, that will bring us happiness. We think if we get that trophy of a human being, the person who is very beautiful, very handsome, everybody just is wowed by their appearance, that will bring us happiness. We talk out of our ass every day, all day, because we get sucked into the momentum of everyone else. People are just talking. Verbal diarrhea, not mindful, not authentic, not vulnerable, not transparent. Instead, what is happening is, what you see is affectation. What you see is artificiality. And yet, it is not argued with, it is not debated, it is not challenged. I can't stress enough this can't beat 'em, join 'em mentality. But people think they're so strong. People think they're so powerful. You're wrong. I disagree. If your emphasis and concern is not your sleep, it's not your nourishment, if it's not your physical activity, and if it's not healthy conversations, you will feel like some kind of crap. You will feel confused. You will be misled. So much of what causes us problems is because our internal environment, our insides, it's not calibrated appropriately. We are not as healthy as we could be. Health is not about appearance. Appearance is a consequence of health. What health is about is having a sense of clarity, is having a sense of strength and power, but actually feeling it truly and purely. When you feel this true power, when you have an excess of real power inside of you, you feel charitable, you feel generous, you feel patient, or rather, even if you're not these things, there's more of a willingness. There's much more of a willingness to harness these things. Being healthy doesn't necessarily make you all of a sudden awesome, but there's more of a likelihood that you will absorb and engage in the practices and the habits, the necessary habits and practices that will bring you the kinds of relationships and bonds that you are looking for. I disagree. We're just yapping and yapping and yapping and yapping. We ain't saying nothing. This right here is church. I was talking with a brother, man, he has a certain kinds of experiences that me and my literal brother, Eric, have. He engages in what is called Kriyas. Kriya. I don't talk about Kriyas much because I know it's very unrelatable. But this is what I'm going to say. There is potential in you. There is a higher power in you. Now, the issue is everybody wants to categorize this higher power as cosmic. Everybody interprets this higher power as God, but not even God in your own interpretation. God as dictated by man. Don't make no mistake, we're all making this up. What are we making up? We're not making up power. When you're hungry, when you're truly, truly hungry, not when you're just kind of hungry, when you're truly hungry, you're not making that up. When you're truly sad, you're not making that up. Although your hunger could be misleading, your sadness could be misleading because it could hinge upon delusion. It could hinge upon irrational, childish notions. I'll give you that. But much in the same way, that sense of higher power can hinge upon delusion. It can hinge upon irrational notions. It can hinge upon that which has been handed down to you from birth, these ideas. Dare to interpret on your own. Dare to see things on your own. There's this option we have when we observe our internal environment. I call it sitting on the perch of the observer. And what that does is it allows you to view what's going on inside of you non-judgmentally. And if you view what's going on inside of you non-judgmentally, meaning that sadness arises, you see that, oh, I'm not my sadness. Anger arises, oh, you see I'm not necessarily my anger. Is it easier said than done? Yes. But my point is there's so much more spiritual, cathartic options for us. And so therefore I disagree. I disagree with what we think the highs are. I'm all about the highs. I am an addict. What do I mean when I say I'm an addict? What I mean is I pursue stimulation. I am capable of pursuing stimulation despite it having a significant negative consequence upon my life. There's been many instances in my life where I pursued some form of stimulation despite the destruction that it caused my life and my well-being. That is an addict. And many of us are addicted to wanting what everybody else wants. That FOMO crap. You think the only way to have a sense of higher well-being, I gotta go here, I gotta go there, I gotta do this and gotta do that. Let me tell you something. If you do go here and there, let it inspire you. If it's not inspiring you, and if it's not adding to your momentum of growth and evolution, then what was the point? What was the mother effing point? You see somebody buying something, and I know because so many people have this compare and contrast thing and going on inside of themselves. They look at other people and they think, oh man, I wish I could. What? I disagree. They're not happy, you fool. These mother effers are not happy. Let me tell you why people aren't happy. People aren't happy because there's no actual sense of community and actual integrity of bond with each other. Our bonds are shallow. Our bonds are dependent upon all kinds of materialistic elements. Our bonds are dependent upon certain factors where you know damn well if you admit something to this person that you have this supposed bond with, they're going to judge the crap out of you. They're going to think less of you. You decide to do X, Y, and Z, they're going to think you're inferior. I will not judge you if you tell me the worst thing about you or the worst things about you. Do you know why? It is not because I am on pursuit of some kind of idealistic higher intellectual plane, even though in a sense I am, but more importantly and more truly, it's because I see myself as a piece of shit, but I don't see it as my fate. The worst things that I see in everybody else, I first and foremost see in myself or have seen in myself. This makes it so what therefore then? My bond then is not dependent upon you being perfect. My bond is not dependent upon you having a higher status. My bond is not dependent upon you impressing me. My bond is dependent upon your perpetual interest. What is your perpetual interest? We all have a perpetual interest. What is yours? Is your perpetual interest in just making, again, is it that artificial bullshit? Most people's perpetual interest is in just people pleasing, but people pleasing in the form of affectation, in the form of ingratiation, in the form of can't beat 'em, join 'em, in the form of I just see what everybody else is doing and let me just hop on, you fucking lemmings. Could you stop being a lemming, please? Just for a moment. Could you just please stop being a lemming and think for yourself? It always trips me out that people are so conspiratorial minded and yet they still are brainwashed to high hell. You're conspiratorial minded, but you don't think that the interface of social media and all of its distractions, where all I see is asses shaking and just utter bullshit, people fighting in the streets, people yelling and complaining and all kind of drama that just has no substance at all. You think that, you wonder why, hey women, I'm saying, y'all wonder why dudes see you as objects? All I see is objectification. I don't see any higher mindful. And then the people who are trying to be mindful, you then are just appropriating spiritual mumbo jumbo from other people. You believe that, oh no, the only way to be spiritual is to talk about me being a being of light, flying above the blah 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 blah. Motherfucker, get grounded. Let me anchor you back to earth for a second. We're all gonna fucking die. Are you aware of that? Let's talk about that just for one moment. If you're alive right now and if you're listening to this, that's because you're lucky. Do you think everybody who's died from misfortune was because they weren't favored by a supreme being? Do you think that their lives were any less real than your own? You are lucky, and I am lucky. But it's not even necessarily just a good thing just to exist. A lot of us are, what's the point? Like, you exist, okay. A lot of people exist and then they just push out children, okay. But they have no higher interest in an actual kind of integrity and quality of relationship. I suppose I disagree because I want the highs as well. I'm a glutton, but I am a glutton for that something deeper and richer, which comes from us pursuing growth and evolution. How many adults have you seen that are profoundly childish? And why are they profoundly childish and toxic? Because they never grew. They grew physically, but they never grew mentally. They never grew spiritually. They never grew psychologically. They never grew internally. And yet, there's no debate about this. There's no discussion about this. And yet, we're entertained by them. These people are in our lives. You want to be like them. You're listening to them. You're receiving opinions and wisdom, quote unquote, from them. People who are conspiratorial minded have resented and lamented government and whomever else from running the show. There's a greater conspiracy now. The fools run the show. Somebody's always trying to run the show, but now are you telling me all of the jesters and the dumbasses that think with their ass and shit comes out their mouth? These are the people who are running the show, and you applaud them. You have nothing negative to say about them. You don't have any fight in you. You're part of the problem. I'm part of the problem. What are we complaining about? I disagree. I disagree with our concerns. I disagree with what we place emphasis upon. I disagree with what we believe to be a good life. I disagree. I dis a mother effing agree.